Hello there, friends. Two Cafes here. Thank you once again for allowing me in your homes. Today is July 28th, 2024. It is the end of is this the end of week 4 or week 5? I forget at this point. Um, I don't know. I'm up another pound to 222.2 was the most current weight weigh-in. So this is the weigh-in video for July 28th, 2024. Cats running around, sorry. 222.2. I don't know. I was gonna fall into the pitfall. I guess I was gonna fall into the same hole that other people who do this sort of thing. I'm not gonna show my results because I'm ashamed, but I mean, it is what it is. Yesterday, I don't know, I guess I ate a lot yesterday. I didn't work out yesterday just because my legs were still recovering. On Friday, was it Friday or Thursday? It was probably Thursday. So Thursday I did leg day and my legs were destroyed for only today do they actually feel like recovered. So I'm probably going to walk today, but I did arms on Friday. I didn't work out yesterday, and today I'm going to probably do 12,000 steps worth of walking. Not all at once, like an hour and then an hour later on. But yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of sad that I wasn't able to get any lower than like 220 or 219.8 or whatever it was. That still kind of sucks that instead of losing weight, I've gained weight. And that's basically because like yesterday, I had whole wheat pancakes. They were homemade whole wheat pancakes, but I had like 4 of them and 3 sausage links for breakfast. And then dinner was just grilled chicken with brown rice and salad. So I don't know. Clearly I had too much, or I'm not doing something right. So, because if I was, I'd be losing weight instead of gaining weight. But yeah, it is what it is. I don't know. This past week, I think I streamed one time this week, and then I didn't because I just didn't feel like it. I don't know. I don't know why I haven't had the work ethic needed, and I'm having that. I don't know. It's not really an identity crisis. It's not really a crisis of faith or anything, but it's like the content we make, like, I don't know, I feel like doesn't matter. Do I matter? Does my content matter? Like, I appreciate the 135 subs I do have, but like, it's not going to pay the bills. Like, the government's going to keep hounding me for student loan payments that I don't have. Like, it's already up to $850 past due, and it's like, you can't milk blood from a stone, dude. So you want to throw me in debtor's prison or something? Go ahead, I guess. Wouldn't be the first time or last time something like that has happened, but it's like, yeah, I know for sure I don't want to go back to grad school. I just don't. Like, that's something that we talked about last week, but I don't want to go back to school again. I've stopped school and gone back a couple times already, and I'm not interested in doing it anymore. I'm not interested in racking up even more debt. I'm not interested in working in a public school program for 5 years to get, my student loans forgiven. Like, this bullshit of the country being run by fucking banks is insane. Not to sound like a tinfoil hat wearer, but it's the goddamn truth, It's terrible, and I have no interest in racking up even more debt to be, indebted to these major banks and corporations. So I'm not interested. Perhaps in another life it would have been something that I would have done, but I don't know, man. What do I want? I want to set my own schedule. I want to do what I want, right? Like, that's what everybody wants. Like there are some people who don't mind uh going to a job and being told what to do and having to uh like check in with someone or have someone be in charge of you. But I'm very much like I don't like being told what to do. I it's not that I don't get along with people, it's just that who I do get along with is like a very specific kind of person. Like it's hard to describe, but like I could be cordial and nice. I know how to play the social game. Like I'm a mid level millennial. Like I'm not a super old millennial, but I'm not a super young millennial either. So I grew up and went through puberty during a time where we didn't have smartphones and the internet wasn't super duper accessible to me. Like when I was 14, this is like 2004. So I don't we didn't even have broadband in my house in 2004. It wasn't until 2008 that we even had broadband in the house. So it was still like it wasn't even America Online. It was MSN and it was dial up and it was definitely something. It was not what it is today. But I said all that to say this, like I understand how to talk to people and how to play the social game. It's just that I don't know. I live in a place where there are no entry level jobs for people who are in my situation where like they have just enough of an education to like not have a specialty in anything, but not enough to like immediately be accepted into something. Like, and on top of that, like there's no, I think I said this, but there's no entry level. Like every like application that I come across for my area requires like 3 years experience, 2 years experience, 3 references, the same old bullshit that every job employer requires. 3 references, a resume, a cover letter, proof that like, and I don't have that because I haven't been working. Like I haven't worked since 2015. I don't know. I've shot myself in the foot. I've screwed myself over because like my brain couldn't switch over to drone mode, where I resonate a lot with this. Like there's this creator called Thought Slime who I like to watch from time to time. He hasn't uploaded anything recently. Where very much I think there is something wrong with me because I can't just like flip the switch in my brain to, okay, I have to go work and I'm not going to be miserable about it. I'm just going to go and do it. And why don't I have the get up and go that like my mom has or my grandpa has, to where, oh yeah, this is what I gotta do, I'm gonna go work this shitty job. Like why don't I have that? Like why do I feel such misery and anxiety when it comes to crap like this? And it sucks, it's debilitating. And then I also watch another creator on the platform called FD Signifier, and he had been a video of his talking about the history of hip hop and Drake and Kendrick Lamar. It was a pretty well anticipated video. People were looking forward to it, and then it finally came out yesterday, and it was a really good watch. I suggest watching it. But like at the end, like all these creators who are in their own cabal of, not to say that it sounds nefarious, but they're a cohort, they're a group of people who have, they're on Nebula, the Nebula creators. Um, you know, at the end of his documentary, he's like, YouTube is a place that has video game let's plays and this and that and tutorials on how to do this. So I like verbatim, it's not really a platform where real creative people can make a real creative content. And I don't know, that kind of cut me deep a little bit because I make video game let's play content, and it's like, oh, okay, I guess I'm not super creative. I'm not um yeah, I guess I'm not super creative. I didn't put enough thought into, you know, making the content, and maybe it's easy to feel that way because part of you feels that that's true. Part of you feels that, oh, maybe he's right, and this content doesn't take a lot of effort, and nobody's watching it. Like, it gets views, right? Like, about half of that channel's subscribers watch the videos, which is just a percentage based thing. If half of your viewership watches your videos, that's good. But if you only have 16 subs, and it's not a lot. So you can you can switch it to percentages and make it seem good to yourself, but it's not enough, right? Like, it's not enough for me to take care of myself off of, and that worries me. Like, I really don't want to have to go work at Walmart, or I don't know, maybe I've that misplaced pride. I don't know what it is, but like, I have a freaking, bachelor's degree, I have an associate's degree, and they literally just pieces of paper that don't do anything for me because there's nothing here in this town. It's a retirement college town. It's like a double whammy. The places you could work are tailored around the school year and students being here, and a lot of it is like restaurants over by where the university is, bars, gigs at, like, if I was living on my own, I certainly couldn't afford to live by myself without a roommate. On top of being forced to pay a $425 a month payment for student loans. I don't know. I guess I feel pride, I feel shame. It's a dichotomy because I feel shame that this is the best I can do if I choose not to get my master's degree. And I don't know, man. Like, I feel like 36, I'd have to work in a public thing, and that's if I got my degree this year, which is not gonna happen. I would get my degree 2 years from now. If I went back, I'd be 38 by the time I had my master's degree. It's like, I don't know, I'm not getting any younger. I fear that I've missed out on a lot, that I have been too comfortable to just sit here and not do work and just play video games all day, and I have reached the reckoning. I'm reaping what I haven't sowed. My fields are bare because I haven't planted any seeds. Literally, figuratively. One of the major last big fights that me and my dad had. This was, I don't even know, maybe the same year that he passed away. I don't even remember at this point. But I had got annoyed at him because he had come into my room talking about, he had a weird way of talking about death and like, oh, when I die, like, I'm gonna leave you my stereo. And I thought he was having one of those epiphany moments that he's apt to have. He's had a couple of them throughout my lifetime anyway, where he's, oh my god, I'm sorry, son, I was in a stupor. I've been sleeping the past 30 years and now I feel like I've just woken up. He's had this epiphany a couple of times. So I like got mad at him and I said, like, well, don't, tell me this is your coming to Jesus moment and you're gonna apologize for all the stuff that you've done over the years and try and make amends. Like, he got so, and then we just, got super offended. And like, one of the things he said to me was like, well, what happens when me and mom are gone? You have, what is it? You've literally done nothing with your life, I think is what he said to me. And I laughed, but like in my mind, he was right. Like, that's a lot of the times when someone feels insulted or they feel hurt by something that someone says, mostly if they feel like it's a slight, like if you feel slighted, it's secretly because you feel they're right. You think they're right about the thing that they say, and that they're poking holes in your armor, your defenses, your insecurities, and they're using that against you. And he was really good at that. He knew how to poke at people's weak spots and get them to feel something. But I laughed and said, like, you're right. Like, and then he was exasperated because of, like, what did you expect me to, like, fight back, or what did you expect me to say? Like, you're right. I haven't done anything with my life. I have nothing to show for it, is what he said. And while I've met lots of amazing people. I had lots of fun in college. Not so much fun that I failed. The reason I failed college is because I had a mental breakdown in my mid-20s. And I stopped going to classes, and I was just pretending like I was going to classes so that my family wouldn't be ashamed of me. I was basically like hanging out at the food court or the local. It was called Corbett Center. I assume it's still called that, but it was like Corbett Center Student Union. It was basically the big building where you could hang out. Like, there really wasn't classes there, but like first floor as you walk in, there used to be a post office and a bookstore. That was years ago. That's not the case anymore. But you'd walk in, and further down there's like, it's not really a cafeteria. It's not quite a food court. But students who had, they used to be called flex points. I don't know if other universities have that, but students who had like a budgeted meal plan with their tuition and their living, like their dorm or their house or whatever they're living in, their student housing plan. If they picked a housing plan that came with a meal plan, you got a little card that had points on it, and you got so many points per month, and you would go to any of the locations on campus that accepted flex points, obviously, and that's how you would spend them. That's how you would get your food. So that area, that long spiel to say the food area, the food court, I'll just call it a food court, the student food court where you could go and get your food. And then upstairs, there were tables everywhere where people could sit. Later on in my tenure there, later on in my time there, they added these rooms with like glass walls that people could sit and give presentations in. I think you had to like specifically rent them from, not really rent, but you had to book them. You had to go and talk to somebody, and they would give you the key, and you could go in there, and you didn't have to pay for it. You probably needed to be a student though. You probably had to show them your ID. But there were tables up there, little booths where you could give presentations, and so I would go there pretending that I was in class, and I was ashamed that I wasn't mentally strong enough to get past whatever problems I had. And it screwed up my GPA. Prior to that, I had like a 3.8. And then the mental shit really hit me like a ton of bricks. Don't know where it came from. It feels like I didn't have it for the longest time, and then like right when I hit like 24, 23, 24, it just hit me like a ton of bricks. And around there, somewhere around there, I had a mental breakdown. I don't know when it was. Just existential crisis, existential dread. I was going nowhere in a degree program that I didn't like. I learned a lot of interesting things from certain classes. Not all of them were good, but I was in the education program. I was in It was a 5-year program when all other programs were 4 years. And I think I said this before, but in case this is your first video, hello, please consider subscribing. I was in education, obviously. Not obviously, but I've said this a couple of times, but I was in education. Initially, I started off in business because I wanted to open my own guitar shop and provide music lessons. And when you ask an advisor that, the advisor didn't quite know where to put me because, I liked the idea of teaching people to play guitar and owning my own store and selling guitars. But when you tell that to an advisor, she's like, oh yeah, we'll just put you in general business or whatever. And that shit was boring. I had interesting teachers. The most interesting thing was the accounting class that I had to take, because the teacher himself, the instructor himself, was actually really interesting. He talked about how he used to work in the Vicks Vapor Rub factory, and if you had a cold, you'd just be able to stick your head in one of the vats and you'd be good to go. Who knows if it was a real story, if it was a true story. But you remember characters, and he was an interesting character. But overall, it wasn't something that was for me. Business sucked ass. And everybody kind of told me, you're so good at remembering things, you're so good at explaining yourself and analyzing things, you should be a teacher. And it was something that I had flirted with early on in my life. I was an FEA, as a matter of fact, when I was in middle school, Future Educators of America. That was fun. I've done shit, I've been in programs. I was in FEA. I was in MESA when I was in high school. Mathematics, Engineering, Science Achievement, I think is what that stood for. But in high school, I had another flare-up of depression, and I didn't go to school for 2 weeks when I was a junior. I must have been 16, 17. I had just been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and I would wake up crying every day, and it wasn't as easy 20 years ago to see a counselor and get antidepressants and stuff like that. But I remember waking up every morning just crying, dreading leaving the house. And so I missed 2 weeks. Maybe it was a week. Maybe it felt like 2 weeks, but I missed a decent chunk of school, maybe 10 days. And my GPA plummeted. I was no longer able to do activities in mess up because my GPA was so bad. I wasn't doing my homework. Junior year was pretty bad. The first part of junior year. And then, my best friend at the time, I made an off-color joke about his sexuality. I was young, and I thought it was a clever joke, but it was, he was insulted by it, and he was already looking for an excuse not to be my friend because, growing up with my dad being who he was, one of the last things that kind of caused a rift in our friendship was he had lent me his Pokemon Silver game. It was either Silver or... It was probably Silver. It was one of them on Game Boy Color. And my dad, stole it and sold it for drug money. And I was used to that shit because it happened a couple of times. There's still shit in my closet from when I was a kid where my mom... I still have my old Super Nintendo from back then where my mom would write my name on my stuff because my dad's drug habit was to the point where he would steal... I don't know if he stole my sister's stuff so much, but he stole my stuff. So it got to the point where My mother had to write my name on, like, I don't know if I still have it. I had a radio that my grandpa gave me that would play cassettes. Like, that's old media that's no longer a thing, but cassette tapes it used to play. It was like an old little tiny boombox that my grandpa had got me. On the back of it, it said "property of," and it had my name on it. Shit that I hadn't really thought about in a long time, but that caused a rift, and clearly he didn't know what it was like to be from that. He's like, "Did you ever try telling your dad not to steal, not to do drugs?" I was like, "Yeah, that's one of the first things you try to tell them." Doesn't work out that way, but when you're 16, I wasn't eloquent enough to say those things, to understand how to say those things. I didn't have the wisdom that comes from getting older to be able to convey those thoughts. And so, but that's not why I made fun of his sexuality. Like, the joke was he was taking some psychology class, and I may or may not get canceled for this, but it's whatever, dudes. Like, I'm an LGBTQIA plus ally. Trust me when I say I'm queer, just like the rest of you. So don't look too much into it. But he put a stick in there. Like, he had to make like a, I don't know what it was called, but it was like a shoebox diagram of some kind, I think. And he put a stick in there. And he had just recently come out to everybody, even though like everybody knew he was gay. He was like a gay stereotype. He was like the effeminate gay stereotype. And yeah, in the box was a bunch of like stuff that represented his personality, and one of them was a stick. And he said, "Oh yeah, that's because I always have a stick up my ass." And I just blurted it out. I said, "Better get used to it." And that's what ruined our friendship, was him saying, "I'm so insulted. That is so insulting." Like, I'll always remember the words that he said. And yeah, after that point, he wasn't my friend anymore. But you know, all you can do is say sorry. I'm pretty sure I said sorry. If I didn't, I should have. But you know, all you can do is say, "I'm sorry that I insulted you," or "I'm sorry I hurt your feelings." And if they accept it, they accept it. If they don't, they don't. And you just move forward. But that's the joke that ruined. And he was like my best friend for a long period of my life, from middle school. There were always rumors that we were with each other, but I didn't see him that way. He's not my type. I have a very specific type when it comes to same-sex stuff, but he wasn't it. So there was no worries there. I wasn't interested in that way. It's hard to describe what my type is. I could. I don't know, it's kind of a messed up thing, but like someone who is like masculine to everybody else, but they know that they're gay and they secretly hate themselves for it, but when they're with you, they're vulnerable, like that kind of person. I don't know how to describe it, but that shit is hot to me. Either way, I'm digressing. I know this really wasn't about weight loss, dudes, but I've been working out like all last week. I walked 3 days a week. I did 3 days of weightlifting. Well, no, I didn't. I did 3 days of walking, 2 days of weightlifting. I need to see if I'm able to do sit-ups yet, just because like my gut has been big for so long, and I've never been able to do a sit-up. Like, anytime we were in PE, I never was able to do sit-ups. Not proper form sit-ups, not sit-ups. Oh, sorry, I should be, speaking of sit-ups, I should be sitting up straight so that my posture isn't so bad. But yeah, I've been working out, dudes. Like, I don't know. Like, especially it feels like when I upped my steps to 12,000, it feels like that's, I don't know. It feels like that's when I started plateauing. It feels like I haven't really increased my caloric intake. I don't know. Like, it's hard because there are some things like, okay, well, how many calories is a homemade, fist-sized grilled chicken? They're like, you look it up on like MyFitnessPal. There's a 5 billion different entries for grilled chicken. You don't know which one to type in. But grilled chicken, a quarter cup of brown rice. That's what I have. Plus, like a cup of my salad consists of like a cup of romaine lettuce, broccoli, cauliflower, feta cheese, a homemade vinaigrette that has olive oil, apple cider vinegar, 0-calorie sweetener, and did I say the mustard yet? It has mustard in it. So mustard has no calories in it. Olive oil has calories, but it's a healthy fat. Olive oil, you gotta watch out. That shit'll sneak up on you. Like, just a tablespoon of it has 120 calories in it. So I usually have 3 tablespoons of the dressing, which is by itself 360 calories. But like, I'm on a 1,500 calorie diet, and breakfast is usually no more than like 460, 490 sometimes. So yesterday was the one day where, well, yesterday I had whole wheat pancakes. I asked my mom to look up a whole wheat pancake recipe, and she was kind enough to make it for me. I had 4 of those, and I immediately regretted it because I was full halfway through. So I should have only had 2. And then I didn't have any snacks in between. No, I didn't. Just water. And then dinner was what my dinner usually is, which is the brown rice, the chicken, and the salad. So I don't know. They say you're not supposed to check the scale every day, but yesterday I was like 220.6. Today I'm 222.2. Like, my weight is like fluctuating back and forth between these numbers. Like, I'm hard stuck at 220 is like the lowest I've gotten. So I just have to trust in the process and keep going with it. But yeah, this was another weekly video diary, going more into what I'm feeling, my life, my fears, my shames, my prides. I'll try to, we'll talk more about it next week, but hopefully next week there's more progress and not me continually gaining weight. Because if I gain another pound over this week, I don't know how much more you can cut your calorie deficit down to, but I'll figure something out, just because like I refuse to go back to being 231. I refuse to go back to having my blood sugar being bad. So rest assured I'm not going to fail anymore. But yeah, this video is getting a little long in the teeth. Thanks for watching, fellas. Please consider subbing to me here on the main channel, Duke of Haze, as well as my gameplay channel that has that is not real content. It's low effort content, but please consider subbing there anyway to my low effort Duke of Haze Plays video game Let's Play channel. But yeah, I'll see you guys next time.